Welcome to Climb a Mountain, an indie author's journey podcast diary. Follow Riley each week as he charts the progress of his indie author business. What are his plans? What will he try next? How are his book sales going? What can you learn from his experience? This is the Climb a Mountain podcast diary, and here is your host, Riley Morrison.
Greetings everyone. This last week has been a long week and I've got a lot to talk about. Firstly, I want to mention that page read reductions are come around again. I've been reading other authors have been hit for page reads. Some of them have lost more than others. I don't know how widespread it is and I haven't looked into it too much, but this seems to be the new normal now, authors losing their page reads, especially people that have just released new books. I mean, when you release a new book and it does well, you'd expect there to be more page reads. So, yeah. Anyway, as I said, I think this is the new normal now. So I expect this every month around, say, the 8th to 12th of every month. It's not a good thing, especially when litRPGs hit so hard, but it wasn't just litRPG this time. So I guess I don't know. I need to look into it a lot more to see how widespread I think it is, sort of thing. I know Reverse Harem was being hit, but what is it going to do to KU if authors are going to release new books? They spend money on promotions and, obviously a lot of money on the books and everything, and then they just keep losing their page reads. I mean, I don't think it's going to be the end of KU or anything. For every author that pulls out, there's probably going to be another one that joins up. But, I mean, I don't know. I suppose we'll have to see where it is in 6 months. I imagine this is going to keep continuing, though. I mean, some people lost well over 50% of their page reads, and, I mean, is KU really that rife with scammers and stuff? That over 50% of someone's page reads would be botted? I don't know. Anyway, my theories on why this is happening have sort of advanced since it happened to me. But yeah, I don't feel comfortable talking about them publicly, sort of thing. And really, I mean, they're all just theories and opinions. Anyway, we'll never know what's really behind it all or anything. So I guess there's no point of speculating too much. It's just dealing with it in any way you can, whether you stay in KU and just accept it and accept the risk, or you pull out and go wide like I did. And I will say as a warning for people going wide, it's not. I mean, if you're like me and don't really have much of an audience, you're sort of new to this author business, going wide is hard, especially my genre. Is that you can't just throw money at promotions and get anywhere. Like litRPG isn't that big, like on BookBub or any of the normal promotion sites, so it makes it extra harder. And, I mean, even if you do, I have a friend who threw, a couple $100 at promotions. He probably made that money back and made a bit of money wide. But as soon as the promotions ran out, his sales died again, like it didn't really get him ahead. So he promotes, barely makes a profit or breaks even at the best, and then there's nothing afterwards. Anyway, I could make a whole video on that topic alone, I guess. But yeah, I just thought I'd touch on that before I get into this week. I can't believe I made that prediction. I'd be finished Raid Slayer and Vasari Online by the middle of August. I mean, that was silly. I did get a fair bit done this last week, but, I mean, most of it's been adding chapters to Raid Slayer because I had to work it to be a full-length book. I needed to go back and add a lot of chapters and everything to it, so I've added maybe 5 chapters early on, and I'm going to add another 3 or 4 at the end. Now, I spoke about the side content stuff last week, so I've been mainly dealing with that. Other than the first chapter, I did another first chapter. I've added a whole bunch of side content to the book and perhaps got slightly carried away with the side content. Actually, it's probably a good thing I did get a bit carried away with the side content, because some of it won't be completed in book 1. Like, you'll get a quest to investigate these mines, and he only just finds out what happened to the miners, and then he'll get another quest to go deeper in the mine and find out what killed them type thing. but I'm not going to finish that quest chain until maybe book 2 or 3. I'm going to write like a quest notification saying that he needs to be better geared or higher level or something like that. So, because I wasn't 100% sure where I'm taking this series, like I have a core idea of where I want it to go, but could I really make 3 full-length books out of that? So by adding these sort of side content to the book, plot threads, I can always go back and explore this sort of stuff later, which will help add to the future book sort of thing in the series. So it's good getting this side content done, and I mean, it's been fun writing it. They're just sort of little side adventures in their own, I guess is the easiest way to explain it. And I mean, they still benefit the core story by the character leveling up, getting experience as well as equipment and everything. Because with litRPG, or at least the style I write, you sort of have boss battles. I like writing the MMO variety, so there's raid dungeons and 5-man dungeons and everything. Yeah, there's boss battles, so these are like the bad guys that the players, the main characters have to fight, and to progress sort of thing. So yeah, they go in there, they need better gear, health potions, all that type of stuff. So I mean, it's not so dissimilar to a normal book. You always usually have the antagonist is defeated at the end. But maybe if you've got a longer series, you might have like one of their main minions is killed off at the end of book 1, and then the good guys eventually go face the final bad guy at the end, and then maybe find out he wasn't really the final bad guy, that there was someone else behind it. So it's not so dissimilar to normal books, but yeah, it's done in more of a gamey sense of the term, I guess, this side content. One of the criticisms Visara Online got was that it didn't have enough about the other characters other than the main point of view's character class. So I've tried to address this in Raid Slayer. I explain a fair bit of detail about the protagonist's class, which is a battle blade master. I couldn't even remember for a second. Blade Master. And yeah, there's other character classes in there like priests and bards and mages and all that sort of stuff. So I go into a bit more detail about the other classes so people get a good idea of what they're all like. Because yeah, that was one of the criticisms with Visara Online, that I didn't go into too much detail about the other classes. I did explore the main character's class a lot. But yeah, just didn't touch too much on the other. I mean, I named the other classes. I just didn't name abilities and what they can do, basically. So I've tried to address that with Raid Slayer, and I've actually spent a few hours actually making a lot of the abilities up and just how the characters all work, the classes all work and everything. So that's a bit time consuming. You have to think things through and just, a bit of numbery stuff. And, yeah, I mean, there's only so many ways you can name, like, Frostbolt type thing, so I just stuck with the basics. I just called it Frostbolt, Fireball, and a few other stuff. But yeah, I did add some of my own stuff in there, like my own ability names and stuff, and some crazy stuff. But yeah, that's a time-consuming thing that I assume really would just be fantasy lit RPG writers even have to think about stuff like that. The closer I get to finishing Raid Slayer, the more excited I become with it. I really need to hold off on releasing it till I get at least book 3 of Visara Online close to release. I mean, it's so tempting to just release it. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd actually finish the entire series and then release it, but I just don't know if I could finish all of it this year as well as Visara and do my Lost Sun books as well. So I'm just going to have to deal with the fact I'm only going to have one book in this series out. I really want to get books out there. It's been a couple of months since I released something, and the last book I released was Rage of a Lost Sun, which didn't sell very well, and it was part of my Lost Sun books anyway. It wasn't like Visara Online, and Visara Online has definitely sold a lot more than my Lost Sun books. So yeah, I really need to get books out there as soon as possible, basically, and I will hold off at least for a couple of weeks with Raid Slayer and then release it, then Visara Online Book 3. And another reason I want to do that is because I'm going to give Visara Online Book 1 away at the end of Raid Slayer. Like, join my mailing list and get Visara Online for free. I really hope this will get readers into my Visaria books and actually get litRPG readers on my mailing list. I've got a fair few on the Lost Sun one, but yeah, that doesn't help me too much now, because I'm not releasing Lost Sun stuff at the moment. I mean, that'll help me in the future, I guess, but right now I'd like more litRPG readers on my mailing list. Even if they're not hardcore fans, they're just joining for the free book. I really hope it'll help when Visara Online Book 3 comes out, that it sort of helps the series along, I guess. Because I imagine with Visara sort of sunk in the ranks a fair bit on Amazon, it bounces up from, say, 120k to 400k book 1, and then it gets a sale and gets back down. I mean, it's going to be hard work getting it up in the ranks, say to like 50,000 even. Obviously, I'd like it much higher than that. But then again, I'm not spending money on ads, and I'm still selling 5 or 6 copies a week. But it's making me about $15 to $16 a week, and I'm not spending money on it. So, hey, I mean, I'm happy with that, really. I mean, if I'm making, what's that, $50, $60 a month, not spending anything on it sort of thing, and the book's already in profit, I mean, how could you not be happy with that? I mean, obviously, if I was doing this full time and making like it was money I needed for the bills, it'd be a totally different thing. But as is, we're doing okay outside of the books, so I'm happy with my books just making whatever at the moment. I obviously want to improve that, and I will be, I hope, once I get more books out. It was just this temporary phase of not releasing anything and just dealing with all the burnout from the page reductions and everything else I've gone through. So it's just been a journey these last 3 months or so. My plan for this next week is to get friggin' Raid Slayer out of the way. It just feels like it's dragged on, but then I suppose I've changed plans twice with it already and had to add so much to it sort of thing, and yeah, that's definitely cost time, as well as making the litRPG systems maybe a bit deeper than Visara Online, which I swear if I'm going to like write another litRPG series, I'm just going to make it basic. I'm not going to name class abilities or anything. I'm just going to say they just make it as basic as possible anyway, sort of thing. So yeah, it's just time consuming, and then you got to keep track of all the numbers, and you got to, I mean, as it's a harem book, I've got to keep track of like 5 characters, 6 characters by the end, as well as their items. Like I think there's about 10 different armor pieces they can wear, and rings and amulets, and their weapons. I mean, I've got to keep track of all this sort of stuff. So, I mean, and then I've got it for like Visara Online as well. I've got a whole file on the different characters and their stats and abilities, as their armor. Writing litRPG can be a nightmare, especially if you make it complex like I seem to. So yeah, there's that. Definitely consider that if you decide to write litRPG. Just there's a lot of stuff to keep track of. So yeah, that'll be my task over the next week. Finish Raid Slayer. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to finish it. I'm sick of it's just, I've nearly finished Raid Slayer. I've nearly finished Raid Slayer, and 2 weeks later or whatever, it's still not finished. It's just expanded way beyond I originally thought. So, and then I'll get straight into Visara Online Book 3, because I have been excited to get back to that too, which I'm happy with, because I wasn't excited about it for quite a while. So I hope if I'm excited about it, I can get straight back into it. One last thing at the end here, my brother's doing a bit better. He had an operation on his arm to set the bones, and yeah, it sounded pretty bad. And he's got more operations ahead of him, so it's going to be a long road to recovery. And for those of you who don't remember, I mentioned my brother was injured in a bike accident last week. So yeah, he's last week's video, but the week before he was actually hurt. So hopefully he'll be fine long term. It's just going to be a long road to recovery. Well, anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.